In the ancient world, a specter loomed, casting long shadows of dread. Meet Moloch, a deity shrouded in mystery and fear. Hailing from the Near East, whispers of child sacrifice echo through the corridors of history. Was it fact or fiction? The truth is obscured by time's foggy lens. Imagine, if you will, a bronze statue, its outstretched arms waiting to receive. Flames flicker within, a fire fed not by wood or coal, but by something far more chilling. A sacrifice to ensure prosperity, or perhaps an offering to ward off disaster. Despite the darkness that surrounds Moloch, it's crucial to remember that history, like all stories, is subject to interpretation. Some argue Moloch was worshipped with child sacrifice, others say it was a misunderstanding of ancient rites. Yet, Moloch's image persists, a haunting reminder of the past, and perhaps a cautionary tale for the future. A tale of what can happen when fear overpowers reason, when desperation pushes us to unthinkable acts. Moloch, a name that continues to echo in the annals of history, a chilling reminder of the depths humanity can sink when gripped by fear and superstition. Welcome to Top Thangs, where we explore the mysteries of the past and their impact on our present. Today, we dive into the enigmatic figure of Moloch, journeying from its ancient origins to its role as a symbol of the sacrifices demanded by modern society. Join us as we unravel the philosophical and ethical dilemmas surrounding this powerful metaphor. Moloch Deep Dive. Moloch historically refers to a deity worshipped in the ancient Near East, particularly by the Canaanites, Phoenicians, and related cultures. The worship of Moloch is associated with the practice of child sacrifice, although this aspect has been the subject of considerable scholarly debate and reinterpretation. The name Moloch is also sometimes spelled Molech and appears in various ancient texts, including the Hebrew Bible. Historical context. Ancient worship. Moloch worship was prevalent in the ancient cities of Carthage, Tyre, and others. It is often depicted as involving the sacrifice of children, supposedly as an offering to ensure prosperity or favor from the deity. Biblical references. In the Hebrew Bible, Moloch is mentioned several times, primarily in the context of prohibitions against the worship of this deity and the associated practices. The most direct references are found in Leviticus 18:21, 20:2-5, and 1 Kings 11:7, among others. These texts condemn the worship of Moloch and associate it with the practice of passing children through the fire. Symbolism and interpretations. Representation. Moloch is often represented as a bull or a man with a bull's head. Some depictions include a statue with a hollow interior where fire was kindled, into which the sacrifices were placed. Scholarly debate. There is significant debate among scholars regarding the historical accuracy of child sacrifice practices attributed to Moloch worship. Some argue that the biblical references are polemical or symbolic, intended to vilify neighboring religions. Others suggest that such practices may have occurred, but perhaps were not as widespread as the biblical texts imply. Cultural impact. Literature and arts. Moloch has been referenced in various works of literature and art, symbolizing the sacrifice of the innocent, tyranny, or societal evils. Notable examples include John Milton's Paradise Lost and Allen Ginsberg's poem Howl, where Moloch is used metaphorically to critique industrial society and social norms. Modern interpretations. In contemporary times, Moloch has become a symbol in discussions about societal and ethical issues, such as the exploitation of children, consumerism, and the sacrifice of human values for material gain. Conspiracy theories. The figure of Moloch is sometimes invoked in various conspiracy theories, often in contexts alleging secret societies or elite groups engaging in nefarious practices. These interpretations, however, are not supported by credible historical evidence and are part of modern myth-making and misinformation. The historical and cultural significance of Moloch is multifaceted, blending actual ancient worship practices with later literary, symbolic, and even sensational interpretations. The figure of Moloch serves as a powerful reminder of how deities and religious practices can be interpreted and reinterpreted across different cultures and historical periods, often reflecting the values, fears, and concerns of those doing the interpreting. The figure of Moloch, rooted in ancient history and religion, has been enveloped in various occult interpretations and conspiracy theories over time. While the historical Moloch is associated with ancient Canaanite and Phoenician religions, and potentially with child sacrifice rituals, modern occult and conspiracy narratives have taken these associations in several directions, often blending fact with speculative fiction. Here are some of the most occult and conspiratorial aspects surrounding Moloch. Occult interpretations. Symbol of sacrifice. In occult contexts, Moloch has often been interpreted as a symbol of sacrifice. This interpretation draws on the historical accounts of child sacrifices, but expands them into a broader metaphor for the sacrifice of innocence or purity, for material or worldly gain. Archetype of power and control. Moloch is sometimes seen as an archetype representing power, control, and domination. In this sense, the deity symbolizes the dark side of authority and governance, where leaders may sacrifice the well-being of their subjects for personal or political gain. Transformation and transmutation. In some esoteric traditions, Moloch might be considered a symbol of transformation through fire, representing the idea of purification or destruction necessary for rebirth. However, this interpretation is more a modern, symbolic reading rather than rooted in historical worship practices. Conspiracy theories. Bohemian Grove. One of the most well-known conspiracy theories involving Moloch centers on the Bohemian Grove, a private campground in California used by a private all-male club known for its wealthy and powerful members. Conspiracy theorists claim that an owl statue at the grove represents Moloch and that secret elite rituals, possibly echoing ancient sacrifices, are performed there. However, the owl is not a representation of Moloch, historically depicted with a bull's head, and there's no credible evidence supporting the existence of nefarious activities. Global elite rituals. Moloch is often invoked in conspiracy theories, alleging that a global elite or secret societies engage in dark rituals involving sacrifices or other occult practices to gain power or curry favor with malevolent forces. These theories are speculative and not supported by evidence, but play into long-standing fears and narratives about power and corruption. Symbolic sacrifice in society. Some conspiracy theories extend the concept of sacrifice to include symbolic or metaphorical sacrifices in contemporary society, such as the exploitation of the vulnerable, war, or environmental destruction. In these narratives, Moloch becomes a catch-all symbol for the perceived moral and ethical failings of modern civilization. While Moloch's historical roots are in ancient religious practices, the occult interpretations and conspiracy theories that have grown around the figure in modern times are a blend of myth, speculation, and symbolic extrapolation. These narratives often reflect broader societal anxieties about power, morality, and control, rather than historical realities of Moloch worship. It's essential to approach these topics critically, distinguishing between historical evidence, symbolic interpretation, and unfounded conspiracy theories. Occult symbolism and rituals. Some modern occult and esoteric groups have adopted Moloch as a symbolic figure representing the archetype of sacrifice and transformation through fire. While not directly linked to historical worship, these interpretations draw upon the ancient associations with child sacrifice. In occult contexts, Moloch may be invoked in rituals meant to represent a metaphorical sacrifice or shedding of one's old self to achieve a desired transformation or rebirth. Connections to ancient mystery cults. Conspiracy theorists have attempted to link Moloch to various ancient mystery cults and secret societies, such as the cult of Cybele or the mysteries of Mithras. The rationale is that these groups allegedly practiced similar sacrificial rites and engaged in occult rituals. However, the direct connections between Moloch and these groups are tenuous and largely speculative, based on perceived symbolic similarities rather than concrete historical evidence. Satanic panic and urban legends. During the Satanic Panic of the 1980s and 1990s, Moloch was sometimes invoked in urban legends and conspiracy theories about alleged satanic ritual abuse. These stories often involved claims of secret satanic cults engaging in human sacrifice, with Moloch serving as a symbolic figure representing these supposed evil practices. However, investigations into these claims found no credible evidence to support the existence of organized satanic cults or widespread ritual abuse. Conspiracy theories about the entertainment industry. In recent years, some conspiracy theorists have alleged that the entertainment industry, particularly in Hollywood, is engaged in occult practices and rituals related to Moloch. These claims often involve interpreting certain symbols, gestures, or imagery in movies, music videos, and award shows as references to Moloch or child sacrifice. However, These interpretations are highly speculative and often involve a significant stretch of symbolic interpretation without substantive evidence. Symbolic representations in art and literature. While Moloch has been invoked in various works of art and literature, often as a symbolic representation of societal ills or the sacrifice of human values, some conspiracy theorists have interpreted these artistic expressions as evidence of actual occult practices or beliefs. However, such interpretations fail to distinguish between symbolic or metaphorical use and literal belief or engagement in alleged occult activities. It is important to approach these topics with a critical and discerning eye, separating historical facts from speculation, symbolism, and unfounded conspiracy theories. While the figure of Moloch may hold symbolic or metaphorical significance for various groups, attributing real-world occult practices or nefarious activities to these interpretations requires a high standard of evidence, which is often lacking in the conspiracy narrative surrounding Moloch. The Specter of Moloch, a philosophical exploration, the primordial paradigm. From the dawn of civilization, humanity has grappled with the concept of sacrifice, the relinquishing of something precious for a perceived greater good. Throughout the ages, cultures have deified this notion, personifying it as a deity demanding tribute, a force to be appeased. Among the most enduring and enigmatic of these symbolic figures is Moloch, the ancient Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice. Originating in the Bronze Age, the cult of Moloch has cast a long shadow over human history, its legacy echoing through the annals of philosophy, literature, and theology. Moloch has become a metaphor for the insatiable hunger of societal forces that demand the surrender of individual autonomy, the sacrifice of moral principles, and the subjugation of human potential to the relentless march of industrialization, bureaucracy, and collective inertia. As we delve into the depths of this multifaceted concept, we must confront the tension between individual agency and the imperatives of the collective, the eternal struggle between personal liberty and societal obligation. In this comprehensive exploration, we shall unravel the intricate threads that bind Moloch to the human condition, shedding light on the philosophical, psychological, and ethical dimensions of this captivating archetype. The philosophical underpinnings. The notion of Moloch has been a recurring theme in philosophical discourse, serving as a powerful metaphor for the forces that demand sacrifice and compromise from individuals in the name of larger systems or ideologies. In his seminal essay, The Tragedy of the Commons, Garrett Hardin invoked the specter of Moloch to illustrate the potential for collective inaction to lead to the depletion of shared resources. Similarly, the philosopher and economist Thomas Schelling employed the metaphor of Moloch to explore the dynamics of mutually destructive competition, where individuals or nations engage in an escalating cycle of conflict, each driven by the fear of being outmatched by the other. Beyond these specific applications, the concept of Moloch resonates with broader philosophical currents, such as the tension between individualism and collectivism, the critique of modernity and industrialization, and the ethical dilemmas posed by utilitarianism and other consequentialist ethical frameworks. At its core, the Moloch paradigm challenges us to confront the limits of rationality and the potential for human agency to be subsumed by the inexorable forces of social, economic, and political systems. It prompts us to question the extent to which we are willing to sacrifice individual freedoms and moral principles for the perceived greater good, and to grapple with the consequences of such sacrifices. The psychological dimensions. The allure and enduring power of the Moloch archetype can be traced in part to its resonance with certain psychological tendencies and cognitive biases that shape human behavior. The cult of Moloch speaks to our innate desire for certainty, order, and belonging, even at the cost of individual autonomy. From the perspective of psychological theory, the appeal of Moloch can be viewed through the lens of conformity and obedience, as explored in the seminal works of social psychologists such as Solomon Asch and Stanley Milgram. These studies highlighted the human propensity to yield to authority figures and conform to group norms, even when doing so violates personal ethics or common sense. Moreover, the Moloch paradigm taps into our cognitive biases, such as the sunk cost fallacy, which can lead us to persist in futile or destructive courses of action simply because of the investments we have already made. The fear of loss and the desire to protect our existing investments can blind us to the long-term consequences of our actions, leading us down a path of escalating sacrifice. From a psychoanalytic perspective, the cult of Moloch can be interpreted as a manifestation of deeper, unconscious drives and anxieties. The willingness to offer sacrifices, even of our most precious possessions, may represent a symbolic attempt to assuage existential dread or to appease the inscrutable forces that govern our lives. By exploring the psychological underpinnings of the Moloch archetype, we gain insights into the complex interplay between individual agency and societal pressures, and the cognitive mechanisms that can lead us to compromise our values and surrender our autonomy in the pursuit of perceived collective imperatives. The ethical quandaries. The concept of Moloch poses profound ethical challenges, forcing us to confront the tension between individual rights and collective responsibilities, and to grapple with the limits of utilitarian reasoning. At its core, the Moloch paradigm demands that we consider the moral implications of sacrificing the few for the presumed benefit of the many. From the perspective of deontological ethics, which emphasizes the importance of moral rules and duties, the cult of Moloch represents a fundamental violation of human dignity and individual autonomy. The sacrifice of innocent lives, even in pursuit of a perceived greater good, is viewed as inherently unethical, as it treats human beings as mere means to an end, rather than ends in themselves. Conversely, from a consequentialist standpoint, the Moloch paradigm may be justified if the anticipated benefits outweigh the costs of the sacrifices made. Utilitarianism, in particular, would sanction such sacrifices if they led to the maximization of overall utility or well-being for the greatest number of people. However, this utilitarian justification raises thorny questions about the commensurability of different values and the potential for unintended consequences. How can we accurately weigh the suffering of the sacrificed against the purported benefits to the collective? And what if the sacrifices demanded by Moloch perpetuate cycles of violence, oppression, or environmental degradation, ultimately undermining the very goals they were intended to serve? These ethical dilemmas are further compounded by the inherent uncertainty and complexity of human societies, where the consequences of our actions are often unpredictable and subject to the vagaries of unintended consequences. The cult of Moloch demands that we confront these uncertainties and make difficult choices, balancing the imperatives of individual liberty with the collective welfare. The Specter in literature and art. The enduring power of the Moloch archetype is perhaps best exemplified by its pervasive presence in literature, art, and popular culture. From the Bible's vivid depictions of the Canaanite cult to Herman Melville's haunting invocation of the devouring Moloch in his novel Pierre, the spectre of Moloch has captured the imagination of writers and artists across the ages. In modern literature, the concept of Moloch has been a recurring motif, serving as a potent metaphor for the dehumanizing forces of industrialization, bureaucracy, and totalitarianism. Allen Ginsberg's seminal poem, Howl, famously decries Moloch, whose mind is pure machinery, lambasting the mechanistic and soulless aspects of modern society. Similarly, Kurt Vonnegut's satirical novel Play a Piano explores the human cost of technological progress, depicting a world where automation has rendered human labor obsolete, and Moloch-like forces demand the sacrifice of individual identity and purpose. Beyond literature, the Moloch archetype has resonated in various artistic mediums, from the haunting imagery of Francisco Goya's Saturn devouring his son, to the brooding sculptures of Damien Hirst, which confront the viewer with the visceral realities of sacrifice and mortality. In popular culture, the metaphor of Moloch has taken on new forms, reflecting the evolving anxieties and preoccupations of modern society. From the dystopian visions of films like Metropolis and Brazil, where individual agency is subsumed by oppressive bureaucracies, to the cautionary tales of environmental degradation in works like The Lorax, the spectre of Moloch persists, reminding us of the ever-present tension between individual autonomy and collective imperatives. Through these diverse artistic expressions, the Moloch archetype continues to resonate, challenging us to confront the complex ethical, psychological, and philosophical dimensions of sacrifice, and to question the forces that threaten to diminish our humanity. The modern manifestations. In our contemporary world, the specter of Moloch manifests in myriad forms, reflecting the ever-evolving challenges and complexities of modern society. From the relentless pursuit of economic growth at the expense of environmental sustainability to the escalating arms race and militarization of global conflicts, the Moloch paradigm demands that we confront the consequences of our collective actions. In the realm of technology, the rapid pace of innovation has given rise to Moloch-like forces that threaten individual privacy, autonomy, and even human agency itself. The ubiquity of surveillance technologies, the commodification of personal data, and the emergence of artificial intelligence systems with potentially existential implications all raise profound ethical questions about the sacrifices we are willing to make in the name of progress. Moreover, the globalized nature of our interconnected world has created new arenas for the Moloch paradigm to play out, as international organizations, multinational corporations, and supranational governing bodies wield immense power and influence over individual nations and communities. The pursuit of economic and political hegemony can demand the sacrifice of local cultures, traditions, and ways of life, perpetuating cycles of exploitation and marginalization. In the realm of public health, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought the Moloch paradigm into sharp relief, forcing societies to grapple with the delicate balance between individual liberties and collective well-being. The imposition of lockdowns, mask mandates, and vaccine requirements has sparked heated debates about the limits of government power and the extent to which individual freedoms can be curtailed for the perceived greater good. As we navigate these complex modern manifestations of the Moloch archetype, we must remain vigilant and critically examine the forces that demand our acquiescence and sacrifice. By engaging in thoughtful discourse, embracing ethical frameworks that prioritize human dignity and autonomy, and fostering a culture of transparency and accountability, we can strive to mitigate the insidious influence of Moloch and chart a course towards a more just and equitable future, resisting the siren call. In confronting the enduring allure and pervasive influence of the Moloch paradigm, we must cultivate strategies and frameworks for resistance, rooted in philosophical, ethical, and psychological principles. While the forces that demand sacrifice and compromise may seem inexorable, we possess the capacity to assert our agency and challenge the insatiable hunger of Moloch. From a philosophical standpoint, we must embrace a renewed commitment to individual autonomy and human dignity, recognizing that the value of human life and liberty cannot be sacrificed solely for the sake of collective expediency or utilitarian calculations. Ethical frameworks that prioritize inherent human rights and the inviolability of personal freedom offer a bulwark against the encroachments of Moloch. Psychologically, we must cultivate a heightened awareness of the cognitive biases and heuristics that can lead us down the path of acquiescence and conformity. By recognizing the powerful influence of authority figures, group dynamics, and our own innate desire for certainty and belonging, we can consciously resist the siren call of Moloch and assert our individual agency. In the realm of public discourse and civic engagement, we must foster a culture of critical thinking, open dialogue, and collective empowerment. By encouraging active participation in decision-making processes, promoting transparency and accountability, and amplifying marginalized voices, we can challenge the centralization of power and the consolidation of forces that demand unquestioned sacrifice. Furthermore, we must embrace a holistic vision of progress that balances the imperatives of innovation and economic development with respect for ecological integrity, cultural diversity, and human well-being. By adopting a systems-oriented approach and cultivating a sense of interconnectedness, we can transcend the zero-sum mentality that fuels the Moloch paradigm and embrace a more sustainable and equitable path forward. Ultimately, in our quest to resist the siren call of Moloch, we must draw upon the wellsprings of human creativity, compassion, and resilience. By nurturing these inherent qualities and fostering a deep sense of purpose and meaning, we can forge a counter-narrative to the cult of sacrifice, one that celebrates the inherent worth of every individual and the boundless potential of collective human flourishing. In this comprehensive exploration of the Moloch archetype, we have traversed the realms of philosophy, psychology, ethics, literature, and contemporary society, uncovering the enduring power and pervasive influence of this captivating metaphor. From its ancient origins in the Canaanite cult to its modern manifestations in the domains of technology, global governance, and public health, the specter of Moloch continues to haunt our collective consciousness, challenging us to confront the tension between individual liberty and societal imperatives. Through this journey, we have gained a deeper appreciation for the psychological underpinnings that render the Moloch paradigm so alluring, tapping into our innate desires for certainty, belonging, and the avoidance of cognitive dissonance. We have grappled with the profound ethical quandaries posed by the cult of sacrifice, weighing the sanctity of individual autonomy against the potential benefits to the collective good. In the realms of art and literature, we have witnessed the enduring resonance of the Moloch archetype, its presence echoing through the ages as a cautionary tale and a poignant exploration of the human condition. From the brooding canvases of Goya to the searing words of Ginsberg, the specter of Moloch has served as a powerful muse, challenging us to confront the dehumanizing forces that threaten to diminish our agency and erode our moral foundations. As we navigate the complexities of the modern world, the Moloch paradigm manifests in myriad forms, from the relentless pursuit of economic growth at the expense of environmental sustainability to the escalating arms race and militarization of global conflicts. The ubiquity of surveillance technologies, the commodification of personal data, and the emergence of artificial intelligence systems with potentially existential implications all raise profound ethical questions about the sacrifices we are willing to make in the name of progress. Yet, in the face of these daunting challenges, we possess the capacity to resist the siren call of Moloch and assert our agency. By embracing a renewed commitment to individual autonomy and human dignity, cultivating a heightened awareness of cognitive biases, fostering a culture of critical thinking and civic engagement, and adopting a holistic vision of progress that balances innovation with respect for ecological integrity and human well-being, we can forge a counter-narrative to the cult of sacrifice. Ultimately, our exploration of the Moloch archetype serves as a clarion call to action, urging us to confront the forces that threaten to diminish our humanity and to chart a course towards a more just, equitable, and sustainable future. By drawing upon the wellsprings of human creativity, compassion, and resilience, we can transcend the insatiable hunger of Moloch and embrace a vision of collective human flourishing that celebrates the inherent worth of every individual. The figure of Moloch, transcending its ancient origins to become a potent symbol of the sacrifices demanded by society, technology, and progress, invites us to ponder the ethical and philosophical dimensions of our modern existence. As we delve into the depths of Moloch's legacy, from ancient deity associated with child sacrifice to a metaphorical representation of societal ills, several questions arise. Sacrifice and society. What are the modern equivalents of Moloch's demands? In our pursuit of economic growth, technological advancement, and national security, what are we willing to sacrifice? Are these sacrifices justifiable, and if so, under what conditions? Individual versus collective. How do we navigate the tension between individual autonomy and the needs of the collective? Is there a moral framework that can reconcile these often competing imperatives, ensuring both the flourishing of society and the protection of individual rights? The ethics of progress. As technological innovations continue to reshape our world, what ethical considerations should guide our development and implementation of new technologies? How do we ensure that these advancements serve humanity's best interests rather than exacerbating inequalities and societal divisions? Reimagining Moloch. Can the figure of Moloch be reinterpreted in a way that sheds light on potential paths forward, guiding us toward a more equitable and sustainable future? What lessons can we draw from the historical and cultural analysis of Moloch to inform our approach to contemporary challenges? I encourage you to share your thoughts and perspectives on these questions in the comments below. Engage in this rich tapestry of discussion as we collectively seek to understand and navigate the complex interplay of ethics, progress, and sacrifice that defines our modern world. Thank you for joining us on this profound exploration of Moloch and its significance across ages and cultures. If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity or inspired reflection, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Thangs. What are your thoughts on the sacrifices our society demands? Share your insights in the comments below, and let's continue this fascinating discussion.